Tonight, playoff baseball is back.
Here's the first pitch of the ball game.
The Toronto Blue Jays making their first postseason appearance since 2016. We've got your Game 1 highlights. Plus,
there's going to be a lot of virtual Thanksgiving dinners, and that's okay.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but the concept of a social bubble seems to be over. We'll explain. And
we are stronger together, and we shouldn't isolate anyone for their aesthetic choices.
a community show of support for a family that faced backlash over a mural on their garage. Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. Not many people believed it was possible at the start of this pandemic-altered season, but the Blue Jays proved their critics wrong and made it to the playoffs. The action kicked off tonight in Florida. Our Greg Ross takes us through Game 1.
The Blue Jays are just one game into the 2020 MLB playoffs, and already they find themselves on the brink of elimination. This after the Blue Jays dropped Game 1 of their best-of-3 American League wildcard series against the Tampa Rays. 3-1 was the final score from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Now, Blue Jays manager Carlos Montoya is saying he wanted to be creative with the game plan for Game 1, specifically with his pitching, electing not to start his ace pitcher, Hyunjin Ryu, the $80 million acquisition they made in the offseason, instead handing the ball to Matt Shoemaker in game run, and Shoemaker looked very good early on, allowing no runs through 3 innings of work, but the problem is he only pitched for 3 innings. The Jays electing to pull him out of the game after the third, handing the ball to Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray would give the Tampa Rays their first run in his first inning of work, which was the 4th inning. They go on to win the game 3-1. But afterwards, when Carlos Montoya was asked about the plan to be creative with his pitching staff, he said pitching wasn't the problem.
They both did a great job. Just we didn't hit today, but yeah, it was a great job by both of them.
At first, I was a little maybe surprised to come out out of the third, but it is what it is. I don't make those decisions, and Robbie came in and pitched really well. Just a game we wanted to win, obviously, and we'll just come get them tomorrow.
The good news for the Blue Jays, they will have their ace pitcher on the hill for Game 2. Hyunjin Ryu gets the start as the Blue Jays try to stave off elimination. Game 2 gets underway tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ford government is moving to try to protect residents in long-term care homes as the province enters a second wave of the pandemic. Today, Ontario reported 554 new cases of COVID-19. As Lorenda Redicop reports, visits to long-term care homes will now face tighter rules.
Right now, 40 long-term care homes in Ontario are considered in an outbreak, 6 more than yesterday. At this Toronto home, 22 residents and 4 staff are affected. Today, the Premier announced more than $500 million to help long-term care.
It's absolutely necessary. We can't let COVID-19 get into these homes. It's absolutely critical.
Most of the money will go to help with infection prevention and containment, staffing supports, as well as more supplies and PPE. Plus, starting Monday, in the COVID hot zones of Toronto, Peel and Ottawa, visitors will be restricted to only those considered essential and caregivers.
We are very encouraged by the overall announcement.
The Association for Personal Support Workers is glad the government is promising a 2-month PPE supply in all homes. But it's warned many have left the industry since the first wave, when workers didn't feel safe.
There was elements of trying to build your PPE up, and we were trying to just wear garbage bags, use a pop bottle, because there was simply no PPE available.
Making face shields out of cut-up pop bottles was just one concern earlier this year. A commission is right now looking at the province's response to COVID-19 in long-term care homes. In an interview transcript released this week, the PSW Association said, "We had a slew of PSWs leave the field at that point. They all went to go take the CERB. I don't blame them. When you are the invisible worker for so long and then suddenly they want to make you a hero and you have to put your life at risk, I don't blame them. It was a scary time." The opposition says today's announcement is way too slow.
They are months too late. Any kind of announcement about shoring up long-term care for the second wave should have come, in June or July, frankly.
The NDP says PSWs should have had a permanent wage increase, something that could come.
The PSWs are heroes, and I've said that from day one, and I always said they are overworked, underpaid, and we're going to address that in the next few days.
Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
As cases keep going up in Toronto, the idea of social bubbles is under more scrutiny. Public health officials say they don't work anymore. Lauren Pelly explains what Canadians are now being advised to do.
Did you decide to bubble with family and friends to try and get through the pandemic? Toronto's top doctor says it worked for a while.
But with reopening and the return to school, times have changed.
More people are now socializing, businesses and schools are back open, and cases keep going up.
So the thing about bubbles is they're easy to make and even easier to pop.
Take this scenario. 2 families bubbling together early on in the pandemic. Then one parent goes back to work and another. Plus kids all go back to school. Suddenly one bubble becomes dozens of contacts.
So it's become very much less disciplined.
Experts in Toronto and beyond say people now need to avoid gathering with anyone outside their own household.
In general, it's one address that stays together.
The mayor of Montreal says that means Thanksgiving too.
Even though family or friends might say, oh, let's do it one more time, just once. We'll get together and then for the rest of the month, we'll all respect the rules. We need to be responsible.
Of course, that's easier said than done. So if you do want to celebrate the upcoming holidays, what's the best approach?
If you're going to have a Thanksgiving where you would like to maybe have a very large extended group into your location, we may be asking that you would limit that and that you would keep it, especially with those that are in part of your household and family.
Others recommend skipping the indoor turkey feast and staying outside or going digital instead.
There's going to be a lot of virtual Thanksgiving dinners, and that's okay.
The bottom line, experts say, is if you don't live under the same roof, don't go in the house. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
That advice is one of the reasons the city has decided to extend the active TO program into October. Cyclists and pedestrians will once again be able to take over parts of Lakeshore Boulevard and Bayview Avenue this weekend. Last weekend was supposed to be the final weekend for the pandemic-inspired program, but recent public health advice to limit contact with people outside your household prompted the city to extend it. The expected warm temperatures was also a factor. Closures will be in effect beginning Saturday morning at 6 until Sunday night at 11. Ripleys Aquarium is reporting its first 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in employees. The first case was discovered last week and the second just yesterday. The cases are both in part-time employees who worked in different areas of the aquarium. Other staff who may have had close contact with the affected employees have been notified. Officials say both cases are considered low risk for transmission and the affected areas have been deep cleaned. And Gusto 101 near King and Portland is also reporting a confirmed case of COVID-19 in a staff member. They say the person last worked on Saturday. The restaurant is now closed as a precaution. Employees are being asked to isolate for the time being. The restaurant says a clean bill of health will be required before employees can return to work. They are also giving the space a deep clean. Those at high risk of infection will be contacted by Toronto Public Health. The City of Toronto is facing a court hearing over allegations it breached an agreement to protect people in the shelter system during the pandemic. The legal action is being brought by a coalition of advocates. They say the city is not meeting its obligations under a binding settlement agreement it made a few months ago to ensure homeless shelters meet physical distancing standards. The group providing an image from inside a cramped respite center to back up their claim. They claim senior city managers had knowledge back in June that the city was not in compliance with its obligations. For its part, the city says it has worked hard to ensure that physical distancing was implemented and maintained in shelters. A hearing on the matter is expected to take place in Ontario Superior Court starting Thursday. A Toronto family wants answers after their loved one died in a shelter, then was buried without their knowledge. Seth McLean suffered from mental health issues and seemingly vanished without a trace this summer. It appears few people knew what happened to him, except authorities. John Lancaster explains.
For weeks late this summer, Seth McLean's family searched high and low for the 31-year-old. He suffered from bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and was homeless, often in and out of jail and transient. This time, though, he seemed out of touch longer than normal, they say.
I said to my daughter, you know what, we have to go to the police.
On September 10th, the day McLean would have turned 32, they did. The news, horrifying.
I fell to the ground, and my daughter fell to the ground, and we were just completely devastated.
Police told them McLean had overdosed 2 months earlier and was already buried. The family wants to know why no one told them earlier.
They just decided, okay, nobody cares about him. Let's just get rid of him like he was just nobody.
In Ontario, it's up to the office of the chief coroner to order a person buried once a reasonable search for next of kin is deemed complete. Many of the 220 homeless people buried last year alone in Toronto rest here in modest graves in the cemetery outside the city. Seth McLean is now among them. His family has since placed flowers and keepsakes there. They say authorities didn't do all they could to find them.
They did not at all.
His lawyer, Louis Dallas, says authorities never reached out to him.
Had the police reached out to me, I would have reached out to the family.
The family says authorities didn't check McLean's birth certificate or with the public agency that handled his finances.
And so if there are things to be learned, we should learn those.
Dr. Dirk Heyer, Ontario's chief coroner, says if mistakes were made, changes will come. McLean's family hopes so.
I loved to at least kiss my brother on his forehead and say goodbye. I didn't get that chance. They took that away from me, and that's not right. That's not right at all.
There is little solace, they say, in finally knowing what happened to Seth McLean and where he is. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Remember, if you have a story you'd like us to look into, send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. A disturbing 911 call was heard in an Oshawa court today. It came from a plumber describing what he found while working to unclog the pipes in a home nearly 3 years ago. The call was part of evidence presented in the double murder trial of Adam Strong. He is charged in the deaths of Rory Hache and Candace Fitzpatrick. Ali Chiasson has more and a warning. This story contains graphic details.
It was disturbing enough just to learn how Rory Hache's remains were disposed of. It's even more disturbing to hear it in the plumber's 911 call.
I'm a plumber and I'm on site for a job.
The Plumber's Edge employee tells the operator what was clogging the pipes at 19 McMillan Drive in Oshawa.
We're snaking a drain, and we've been pulling back. We probably pulled back about 10 pounds, 15 pounds of it looks like flesh type of stuff. The whole house was backing up, but I was told to call you guys from my boss. We've been working at it for 3-4 hours now.
Oh, okay.
And we keep pulling back chunks of, whatever the hell it is.
It's at this point inside the courtroom, Rory Hache's aunt has her head in her hands. Through tears, she calls Adam Strong sick. While the 47-year-old man sits emotionless in court, seemingly unbothered throughout the proceedings. Today, we also heard testimony from the responding officers from that night in December 2017. Acting Sergeant Kevin Park recalled several things Adam Strong allegedly said while being arrested and afterwards. The Crown found 3 specific utterances relevant. "Okay, you got me. The gig is up. It's a body," he allegedly said when the officers first got there, as well as, "If you want to recover the rest of her, she's in my freezer. And then, I want to spill the beans." The justice basically said none of those things are gag orders. This all plays into the defense's position that Strong was not treated fairly the night of the arrest. That it was excessive to have 4 officers responding to the call, that the arresting officer made assumptions and waited too long to read those rights. Hache's family doesn't sympathize.
That's right. 3 years later, right? Making people go over and over and over the same play. Like it's terrorizing and taunting to the people that were involved in this case. It's terrorizing just to be on the other side listening to it. You know what I mean?
The court case resumes tomorrow. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Oshawa.
Parents of elementary school students in Toronto have one more day to decide if they want to switch to online learning. The deadline for TDSB students to make the change is 4 p.m. tomorrow. Those students would then begin virtual school just after Thanksgiving. To request the switch, families need to contact their school and fill out a form on the TDSB website. The next opportunity to switch will be in early November. Secondary school students in the board have until October 15th to request a change. Still ahead, a group of artists is banding together to paint free murals on garages, front doors, and mailboxes in an Etobicoke neighborhood. We'll tell you why. Plus,
well, basically, our temperatures have been knocked back towards seasonal. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. As we head into Wednesday, we've got some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms in the forecast. I'll have all those details coming up after the break.
We are into fall now, but the last few days have felt more like summer. Colette is here with a look at the forecast and whether those above seasonal temperatures will continue. Colette.
Thanks, Maribel. Well, I know it was quite a departure from where we were over the weekend and even yesterday, but really these temperatures like today were just closer to seasonal. So here we are kind of knocked back to where we should be for this time of year into fall. What we have to kind of take with it, though, over the next couple of days is a lot of instability. So a lot of showers, even some thunderstorms in there over the next few days. But by the end of the week, new air mass moves in, and that's really going to be a departure. We're going to see some very cool air moving in. However, we may be able to break out of this pattern with the instability and be able to hold on to some more sunshine that we can really count on. I'm not going to say there's no sunshine over the next few days, but maybe be able to count on it a little better and not have to have the umbrella handy. Some of the daytime temperatures from right around 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. You can see a lot of the readings there. Yeah, in the teens, some mid-teens, but a lot of upper teens. Toronto up to 19 degrees today. So it was really quite comfortable. And earlier in the day, quite a bit of sunshine and then the clouds kind of filling in. Well, you see all this moisture, though, here pushing over towards Kingston, towards the nation's capital, into eastern Ontario. That's all coming up from the U.S., really some Gulf moisture. So that's some heavier rainfall. It's more lighter stuff that we're seeing elsewhere from the GTA back towards southwestern Ontario overnight tonight. But then behind that, all of this instability. So not only some scattered showers through the day into tomorrow afternoon, there's an even greater chance that we'll see some scattered thunderstorms in here. So locally, some heavier downpours, the potential there. And then just watch this play through. This is into tomorrow evening. We'll still be seeing some of that activity even into the overnight hours. Overnight tonight, we could see a little bit of patchy fog, especially in eastern sections of the GTA and further east from there. And even into Thursday, we can't really kick this out. So there's a chance for some scattered showers even Thursday and into Friday as well. So that's what I mean about kind of keeping the umbrella handy through this week. In between, we'll get some sunshine as well, but that almost just enhances the chance of getting into some of that moisture coming back at us. So overnight tonight, now look at some of these lows you'll be seeing in southwestern Ontario. Not that cool compared to where they're going to go towards the end of the week and into the weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, a little busy on the map, but I do want you to know that there's going to be some stronger winds that we'll be seeing in here as well. So those will be enhanced at times, especially if we get some of these thunderstorms popping overnight tonight around the GTA. Again, some of that patchy fog, especially that potential to further east that you travel. Tomorrow afternoon, readings kind of similar to today, but just a little bit cooler. But speaking of cooler, that's really what happens as we get towards the end of this week. And I'm being a little optimistic with some of these overnight lows, so it's quite likely we could see some of these dipping down to 4, 5, a little cooler than this. So the morning starts as we get towards the weekend, Mirabel, those could be just a little bit on the chilly side, that's for sure.
Not sure I'm ready for that. Thanks, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Welcome back. Well, lawn signs that read "Neighborhood Love" are popping up in one South Etobicoke neighborhood after one family faced backlash over a mural on their garage. Dahlia Ashry has more on how a group of artists are showing their support.
Yellow hills, constellation, and a starry night. An artistic expression and decision that Sapna Shaw's family decided to make.
If that's what they think a low-income ghetto looks like, is people of color and of people who have their own minds, then I'm proud to be from a low-income ghetto.
The Shaw family received anonymous letters in response to the mural addressed to Ghetto Garage Door, leaving the family shaken and resorting to installing security cameras at their home. Now a group of over 15 artists have banded together to show support to Sapna's family and will be painting free murals on garages, front doors, and mailboxes in the neighborhood. The initiative is called Neighborhood Love. It was started by a team of professional artists, including Natalie Bohenska, who goes by the name Natalie Very B. She is the artist behind the Shaw's family garage mural.
We want to create a culture of promoting diversity and promoting everybody's different cultural background. And, the variety we have in Toronto is beautiful. So what I want everybody to take away from it is that we're all together, and COVID really made us realize that. And we are stronger together, and we shouldn't isolate anyone for their aesthetic choices.
Bohenska says there has been outstanding amount of support with over 30 applications from residents in the area. Angela Ryan and Sandy Cox were shocked and disappointed at the negative reaction to their neighbor's mural.
Whoever this is that's sending the anonymous letters, I hope they realize that they are the one detracting from the neighborhood.
I hope that they're full with regret about doing something so petty and callous and needless, and they could have just had the courage to respect that we all have our own choices, and it certainly wasn't anything offensive.
Although Cox says she won't be painting her home, she is putting a sign on her lawn in support of the Shaw family.
I don't have Sapna's courage, but I wanted to show my support in this way.
For those who do get parts of their home painted, it will be free and take place over the next 2 weekends. Proceeds raised will go towards the artists and their supplies. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.